Live from Maisha Times newsroom, I'm your host Marco Rio, and welcome our viewers in Kenya and all around the world. Thank you for tuning in with us as we cover the most pressing issues shaping our global landscape, to political unrest and human rights challenges, to groundbreaking stories of resilience and progress. We are with you for the next 30 minutes. Make sure you share your thoughts on my social media handle at Marco Rio at Twitter and at Facebook. And this is Maisha Times Newsreel. Kenya is grappling with severe housing crisis, exacerbating rapid urbanization and growing population. The nation's urban population now constitutes a third of over 50 million residents, with 70% residing in informal settlements lacking basic infrastructure. The Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics reports that 64% of households live in informal settlements, within Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa being the most significant. In response, the government has committed to constructing 250,000 affordable housing units annually to bridge the eliminated 2 million unit deficit.
About human settlement, this one doesn't just entail where we live, but it entails on how we connect with each other, the environment we coordinate in, and in this manner, I feel like the government should be at the forefront to ensure that each and every human in Kenya has a proper settlement, has a proper place where they live, a proper place where they eat, a proper place where they interact with each and every person socially and share their cultures. And just to mention a few areas, there is a slum in Kibera. It's a big slum, and when we use this affordable housing accordingly and how it was initially planned, I think each and every person in Kibera can get a good affordable housing.
However, challenges persist. The National Housing Corporation is currently holding 1.3 billion worth of unsold houses despite efforts to market them. We now have Collins Orina on the ground who will share more on this. So yes, Collins, what have you gotten on areas that are being affected with these national housing buildings?
While the government's housing initiatives aim to benefit a broad spectrum of Kenyans, there have been concerns regarding their inclusivity. The introduction of a housing levy set at 1.5% of gross salary has faced criticism for affecting salaried individuals. More, the demolition of houses in flood-prone areas such as in Madare has sparked debates. Residents were offered minimal compensation and many were left out without clear relocation plans, leading to perceptions that the policies may favor certain groups over others.
What is the view of the people being affected in areas such as Madare and Kibera?
Additionally, the establishment of the National Housing Corporation aims to enhance the capacity to meet the growing standards for affordable housing. Thank you, Marco Rio. My name is Collins Orina, reporting for Maisha Times.
Thank you very much for the insights, Collins Orina. We are now joined by our analyst, Ruth Warutumo, who will shed light on this immigration and human settlement issues. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ruth, for joining us, and let us share more on this. Yes, so what is the role of housing levy in Kenya, and how are slums affected by such matters?
At the moment in the country, our president has got a policy on affordable housing, where he has contracted, I think it is a development company, to construct the houses and sell them out to Kenyans at an affordable rate. That policy is a good idea, and it helps people to get houses at a really affordable rate, unlike what is available in the market. It has worked in many other countries, and it is capable of working even in our country. The challenge with it is that sometimes the people that the houses are developed for may not necessarily be the ones to afford them. If it is the really lower cadre of they end up being bought by people who can slightly afford more expensive houses, and therefore this becomes a challenge. However, it is a good idea, and the policy should be improved.
Yes, and how can people migrate from national housing and from slums to national housing?
If I was to improve on that policy, what I would do is I would get the private sector, the developers in the private sector, have them sit down together in a room, and because they know the costs of constructing a house, they can be able to tell that with 1-2 million Kenya shillings we can construct this kind of a house. The challenge would be, where would they get the land to do it? Because most of the land in the country is owned by the government. That's where the catch should be, and they should try and figure out, how can we do this? If this is entirely taken to the private sector, it can actually improve. I think we have seen houses that are going for about 6 or 7 million shillings. That is what a number of Kenyans can afford, because if you spread that over a period of maximum between 15 to 25 years, it becomes affordable for very many people.
Yes, thank you so much for the insights. That's it for human settlement and international migration. On the next story, Kenya has become a key player in international migration in East Africa. As a destination, it hosts thousands of refugees and migrants neighboring countries like Somalia, South Sudan, and Ethiopia, driven by conflict and economic hardship. At the same time, many Kenyans migrate abroad in search of better employment, education, and living standards, particularly to the Middle East, Europe, and North America. This two-way flow of people brings opportunities and challenges. Migration contributes to economic development through remittance and skills transfer, but also raises concerns around brain drain and migrants' rights. As global mobility increases, Kenya must continue balancing humanitarian responsibilities with national development goals, ensuring that migration benefits and the nation also benefits.
First of all, we must go to the responsibility that the Constitution places on the government. In the Bill of Rights, there is the freedom of association. And now, association means I am free to move and interact with people. For example, if I desire to move from Nairobi and I'm going to visit a friend in Garissa, there should be no limitations that come across my way. Now, that being said, it's the responsibility of the government that it has been bestowed upon with the powers to issue, control, and oversee basic national documents.
Yes, and now we have Franklin Chomba on the ground who will shed more on this issue. Yes, and now on multilateralism is increasingly a pivotal part for the East and Africa and broader African continent, fostering regional stability and economic growth and sustainable development. Initiatives like African Continental Free Trade Area aim to create an unfied market, potentially boosting in intra-Africa exports by over 1.1 billion and generating more than 2 million jobs in East Africa alone. The East Africa community has also made strides in regional integration, reducing transit times and custom procedures, leading to significant savings and increased trade. Additionally, the establishment of African financing stability mechanisms seeks to address the continent's escalating debt challenges to safety the nation, to shield nations from liquidity crisis. Collectively, these multilateral efforts are instrumental in enhancing Africa's resilience and ensuring a more integrated and stable future for the region. Yes, Ted Lubale has more on this story. Thank you, Ted. And joining us now is our analyst and also a diplomat in the Embassy of Mozambique, and He will shed light on matters concerning multilateralism in Africa. Mr. Simao Jones. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Simao. Yes, sir. So how can multilateralism help African countries to better their country?
I think our bigger problem is division. We are not united. Let's start from there. We are not, because first we have agenda which we know. Those let's go in free trade is continental free trade is area, which is all of us we acknowledge that we need to go there. But when it's come to implementation, we are not trusting. We don't trust each other. We feel much comfortable sometimes to go to Dubai and try to find a business there instead of promoting your farmer here.
What can we learn from Western countries that have prospered from multilateralism?
I think one of the things that we could do is to bring a model of European Union, for example, for governance. Yeah, in which at some point, it took responsibility to itself. It took some responsibility from member state to itself. Let me give you an example on the issue of a trade. European Union is in position of regulating trade and economic matter. You don't have to rely on a state policies, state policies, and this give power to standardize everything. Because if I'm in Tanzania, I want to take my product to Kenya, you already know the rules. The rules are this, and they apply for all of us, and you just follow them, and it will not differ from this country to this, and the currency here and the currency there. You see, European Union again, the issue of currency, it make them as one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Simao, for shedding a light on that story. As we move on, let us go on a short commercial break. Keep tweeting, keep sharing your thoughts at Maisha Times Newsroom. Our last story of climate change. Deforestation is a significant driver to climate change and responsible for approximately 10 to 15 of global greenhouse gas emissions annually. When forests are cleared, the carbon is stored in trees released into the atmosphere, and this is a huge concern for global warming. Additionally, the loss of forests diminishing in the planet's capacity to absorb the carbon dioxide is further intensifying in climate change. How does this deforestation continue to contribute to climate change?
Deforestation is the cut down of trees, uncontrollable cutting down of trees. When we say that we need to merge climate change with deforestation, the best way is that because I remember a few years ago we had a program that looked into if you can't cut one tree down, you need to plant two. With this current regime and even the previous one, you remember that we've been having the campaign of 15 billion trees. So I'm part of an organization that looks to address environmental conservation. That includes tree planting activities and cleanups. And one of our biggest program, or rather initiative, is Plant Your Age, whereby if you are a 1 year old, maybe your parents could plant one tree for you. When you get to 18,
you plant 18 trees. So every year we find that you plant trees in reference to your age. So we are handling even more than the 15 billion trees by looking into an initiative like Plant Your Age.
Declarations which aims to halt and reverse forest loss by 2030. However, progress has been slow, with many countries and corporations failing to meet their commitments to mitigate the climate change. It is imperative to strengthen these efforts to enforce existing regulations and promote sustainable land use practices. Wendy Chalo has more.
My thoughts on global warming. I didn't think it was a real thing up until I started seeing rivers drying up. There's fewer birds in the sky. You can't even know kunanyesha saa ngapi. It's just a whole mess. And I think it's been caused by a lot of our choices. We use a lot of diesel cars. We use a lot of food being put in plastic. I think plastic should be used in things that we use when we are a little bit more responsible, not when we are eating. We are the most irresponsible when we are eating. So how we can make climate change and global warming a serious conversation. I think we just need to be more cautious on the choices we make.
Yes, and that wraps up on our coverage this evening. We appreciate you for making this part of your day. As the stories continue to unfold, our team will be working on the clock to keep you informed with the latest developments. Don't forget, you can always catch up on Maisha Times newsroom. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Marco Rio, and have a blessed evening.